Welcome everybody. It's the George Mossey show. I'm George Mossey. Guess what? Kara and Dee Dee are both back tonight. So it's kind of a reunion. It's been a hot minute since I've had the whole team together. So we're going to talk about episode 17 of Happily Ever After Show. And we have two more episodes after this one before we get to the finale and the 4-part tell-all. Bonjour. Hello, Geek in the Kitchen. Yeah, the 4-part tell-all, guys. So just to give y'all an idea of what we're in for. So just because we're going to be ending this season soon doesn't mean that we're going to be stop talking about it, because the tell-alls are going to be there. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Dee Dee is back.
Yes,
I'm so excited.
Me.
The whole team is back. So this is like a little reunion.
Yeah. Where is she? Oh, there
right
she
here, right here.
is.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
Oh, we're good. We're glad to have you back.
I'm glad to be back.
It's been interesting without you. You know, it's like I'm so accustomed to both of your opinions and both of your energy. So it's like when we mess with the dynamic, sometimes it gets a little weird, right?
Oh, come on.
I know.
Me and Dee have the same energy. It's just a double win.
Yeah, I feel like y'all feed off of each other, right? I feel like you feed off of each other. So it's just interesting. It's interesting because I feel like you guys, you bring a lot, you know, to the discussion. So when we separate you or I don't have you, it's a weird vibe, right? Like, oh, and appreciate Gina for stepping in last week.
Yes.
She's a long-time listener and she stepped in, which was really nice. It was fun to have her on. She also wanted to tell me tonight to tell you guys that she was honored to even be considered, you know, to step in for you guys. So.
Oh, she did good.
Well,
she did good.
Don't mind her taking my place when I have to leave again, so she can take my place again.
I feel the same way. Thank you, Gina, for stepping in. And so I wanna talk about Lauren and Alexi, because there's a conversation on Twitter. Well, they want me to call it X, but I still call it Twitter, where people are saying that Alexi is not being very supportive of his wife's hopes, dreams, aspirations, her idea of a lifestyle outside of her house. So I wanted to get your opinion on that. Is it Alexi's job to be a cheerleader, her words, not mine, a cheerleader for his wife, because he feels like he's always been that, but he also feels like they should be making these decisions together, not just she wakes up one day and decides to do something and he's supposed to do like a little cheer and do a spin and have his pom-poms in the air ready, right? So like, how do you guys feel? Do you feel like he's overreacting, or do you feel like it's more of a cultural thing? Because we have to remember where he's from, and, you know, women and how women are treated, and whether or not women make their own decisions or not. You know, we have to remember his culture and how he was brought up. So I wanted to get your idea on that.
Well, first of all, I think he needs to get an adult-sized teacup before I can take the guy serious.
The meme on...
You know that was Cuban coffee. That's how they drink coffee in Cuba, like little teacups.
He doesn't want to be a cheerleader, but he drinks like this. Come on.
Well, the meme was that he's such a giant that was a normal size cup. That's what they were saying on Twitter. They were like, that's a normal size cup. They were like, he's just like 100 feet tall. So I thought that was hilarious.
I just can't take him serious, first of all. But they're the most boring freaking couple, and she just pisses me off. Through the whole thing, she pisses me off. She never takes a second to ask how he's doing or how he's feeling. It's always, I want this and I need you to do this for me. It's never, I thank you for taking on so much. Thank you for being that. It's, I need you to be, I want you to be, you have to be. It's never ever, how are you? Thank you so much for stepping up. Thanks for being such a rock. It's never like that. And she's just such a self-entitled person. I just can't. They're so freaking boring.
Yes,
they are.
My tweet earlier was me trying to stay awake during their sex. Even when they were fighting, they're just boring, right? You know, it's like this meme of this little girl in her high chair, and she fell asleep and she hit her head on the high chair and woke her up. And that was me. I was like, gosh, like just somebody slapped me a few times so I could stay interested in this boring nothingness storyline that we're lost in with these two. And no offense, right? Like I feel like they're both probably decent people, more so him than her. Probably, right? There's a possibility. But when it comes to selling entertainment to me, there's nothing there. Like their storylines are crazy, and the surgery, and then somebody said too, they were like, she's really inconsiderate based on what was going on in his life. So I wanted to bring that up too, because the surgery, him working a full-time job, taking care of his kids, a lot of people say that's not fair to say, to complain about, but he's also going through a lot of emotional stuff with his family and the war, because it directly affects where he's from and where his family lives. So a lot of people are saying she's really insensitive to the emotional turmoil going on inside, because he's a man. You know, men don't walk around and just say how worried they are and how affected they are by things. But this is clearly something that's going to affect him internally and very deeply, because he's literally in Miami. He said it. He's like, I'm in Florida, like on vacation, and my family is going through literal hell. And he's like, that has to make him feel a certain type of way. And a lot of people, like you said, she just looks at it as, well, this is what I want. I don't care what's going on with you. I don't care how you feel. I want bigger boobs, and I want to get a job, and I want to do all these things. And she pissed me off too tonight, because she was like, I don't want to sit around the house and just do nothing with my life. And I was like, since when is being a wife and a mother doing nothing with your life? Like, when did that happen? Like, I understand that women are able to wear many hats and do many things, but when is being a good damn mom doing nothing with your life? It really pissed me off, and I felt like really disrespected. And I'm not even a woman. I was like, how disrespectful of you. You know, a lot of women sacrifice a lot to be a good mother and raise good human beings, and you're just going to say that that's doing nothing and that's amounting to nothing. It really ticked me off.
Yeah.
Well,
Me too.
now, I mean, yeah, let's go back just a little bit. Okay, now you remember a couple of seasons back whenever they were on there. Alex didn't even, or Lexi, however you want to call his name, I don't know, how you want to call him. He didn't even want kids. He gave in because she was begging him to give her a baby.
Yep.
Then the little baby was freshly out of the womb, and she was ready to get pregnant again. And then that one was freshly out of the womb. Then she wanted to get pregnant again. I mean, he's given her everything that she's ever asked for. And not one time out of every season that I've seen them in, not one time have I heard her tell him thank you or even give him any kind of praise of anything he does for her.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
He's one of the few that came over here on a K1 and started a family and goes to work every day. Kobe does it too. He came over here. You know, Kobe could easily get away with not doing anything. He came over here to a decent family that is accepting, that doesn't require him to do anything. And I feel like Lauren doesn't, like you said, she doesn't appreciate how good she has it. Because how many times have we watched these situations where they bring the person over here and the person comes over here and they're just here for whatever you can give them? They're not trying to take care of you. They're not trying to make you happy. It's just whatever they can get out of you in the amount of time that they have until they bleed you dry. And I feel like she really doesn't appreciate, you know, he's a decent guy. We don't ever hear of him cheating on her. There's never any issues of them domestically. They're a good working couple. And I feel like she doesn't appreciate the catch that she received, right? Like she went over there and she threw a fishing rod and just caught the first guy she thought was cute over there and brought him over here. Things could have turned out a lot worse. Right? Like she didn't know very much about him other than he was a cute tour guide on her trip, right? Like if she brought him all the way over here, things could have turned out really bad. You know, we've seen that situation with Jeffrey from the earlier seasons. You know, he wasn't a good guy, right? Like, and things could have turned out a lot worse for her. They turned out really good. And I feel like I think when I think of Lauren, the first word that always comes to mind is entitled. Right, like she's just very entitled, and I don't like to call people that because I don't know their situations and how she was brought up. But I just feel like she just expects everything, and doesn't feel like she has to do anything in return. It's what she's supposed to get.
Yes.
And people like that, you know, they never really understand what they have until they don't have it anymore.
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
what I've been saying from the get-go, that she's a real selfless, she is a selfish person. I can't even get my words out. Selfish person. And Cara, we need to go get a surgery done from her doctor, because I have never in my lifetime that I've seen people have any kind of surgery. The woman had 20 surgeries at one time. No bruising, no scarring, no nothing. Girl, we gotta make an appointment with that doctor.
But I don't
Because
know.
we can be in our bikini the next day. I mean, just saying.
Let's be real. If we go to that doctor, we're going to come out not looking any different. So,
True.
Yeah,
there's
she
that.
looks the same. And now she's saying she might want bigger boobs. Did y'all see that in the next?
Yes.
In the next.
Done. She never had anything done.
Well,
she's exactly the same.
Still looks the same to me. Like, what is she talking about? I think in the other ones, she wasn't wearing a bra, like a bra. I think she was maybe wearing like a, what do you call them? Like a sports bra or something. Because when you wear a sports bra, it doesn't like support the twins. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then after she had this so-called surgery, then she wants to put on like a regular bra to make it look like she had surgery. But not one time did we see a scar on her chin, because apparently she had surgery here, right? Not one time did we see anything back here. And this was even after supposedly she healed from the surgery. I mean, she's walking around like she ain't even had surgery. And then the day she got out of surgery, she ordered regular food. You can't do that for the first 30 days. When you have that kind of surgery, you're on a complete liquid diet.
Yeah.
No food, no nothing for 30 days.
Yep.
The math ain't mathing, okay?
Absolutely.
Just saying.
I don't know enough about these surgeries to know, but I do think that it's really odd that she doesn't look different. Because even when Darcy and Stacey used to get surgeries and then they would come back on TV, they looked visually different, right? Like physically, they did not look the same. Honestly, they kind of look like two different people altogether. So I'm really confused at how, and she called them fat transfers. And Alexi said it too. He was like, well, where the fat going to come from?
Yeah.
Somebody else? You know, because you can't remove fat that doesn't exist to put it somewhere else. And I think, you know, she might be falling into that slippery slope of, you know, surgery, like Darcy and Stacey and Shekinah and, you know, all these different people that have fallen into the what do you call it, never ending cycle.
Yeah, she's got body dysmorphia.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this before, that's a mental thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that it's weird to me that doctors would let you have a surgery, go under the knife, knowing that this is a body dysmorphia issue. They should send you to a therapist or psychiatrist first. You know, I feel like the medical system is very flawed. If you have enough money in your pocket, they'll do whatever you ask, but they don't want to help you.
Yeah.
Because if the doctor really wanted to help you, he would say, well, I will refer you to a psychiatrist first to see if you can't get to the bottom of your dysmorphia issues, because whatever I changed on your body is not going to make a difference. You're never going to change what's in here. You know, we can change anything physically. You know, we've seen Nikki Exotica went from male to female. You know, you have to always fix what's bothering you here.
Yeah.
You know, the outer is not a full picture. And I think that doctors really need to do better at, you know, just stop taking people's money and try to help them. You know, I thought that they had to take a vow to always to help people and make sure they do what was best for the patients. And I just don't feel like that's what happens. I feel like they take the money and they're like, oh, you got 20 grand, whatever you need, I got you. And they don't think about what's going to happen after and how it's going to affect them mentally. They just take the money and run.
Yeah, exactly. It's awful.
So a 3-hour car ride, and Patrick and Thais and John and Carlos, and they're all supposed to be bonding on this trip. And it kind of didn't work out because, well, John is bonding really, really well with Carlos, right? Which is really interesting because they can't understand each other. And I was like, well, that might be why, you know, because John isn't the easiest person to get along with. We learned that with Thais's friends. So I was like, maybe him not understanding anything that comes out of his mouth is why they get along, right? Because I was like, it's very possible that if Carlos understood him and understood what he was saying, he would hate him too, right? Like most people that come in contact with John, that since we watched the show, didn't like him at first. So I was like, it's very possible. But Thais is really scared of water, so she was walking on this bridge and she thought she was gonna fall in, and it hit home for me because you guys know that I could drown in a bathtub that was only half full. So it touched me closely because I was like, oh man, see, Thais, I feel you. When she walked on it and it started tilting, that would have been enough to give me a stroke, because even if the water is like knee deep, I can drown in it. So I was like, I totally understood.
Literally 3 adult males that can save you. So
yeah, you know what though? Because like when I go to like places where there's lifeguards on duty, it doesn't make me feel any better.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me feel any better. Like I just feel like I would be the one person they weren't looking at while I was drowning. You know, I don't know. I just can't. And I really, really wish that I could swim. Right. I remember my mom told me the story when I was little. She said she took me to the YMCA and the swimming guard threw me in the water. And you know how when you're little, they just kind of toss you in, right? So he tossed me in, and I got out and I went up to him and I punched him. And,
I would.
And yeah, and then we were banned from the YMCA. So so my mom was like, well, thanks to you, we can't go back because you chose violence instead of learning how to swim. So I never caught
I
on.
would choose violence if somebody threw my kid in the water.
Well, I guess that's just how people do things now. Have you ever seen the TikToks? They literally take the little baby and launch him in the pool. Yeah. It seems like cruelty to me.
It is.
Like I actually felt like my life was in danger, so I felt like I had to go back and punch that guy. Yeah. And I had to. I was only like 3 or 4. You
just let me know who he is, and I will go punch him.
I don't even remember. I
know. Me and Cara don't need to show up nowhere, George. You know you're gonna be. You're gonna be spending money on every one of them credit cards.
Yeah, we don't need to
get us out of jail.
Yeah, we don't need to go and cause any scenes back. This was a long time ago. It was a long time ago.
Doesn't matter. I'll still punch him in the face to make up.
So and kick him in the nuts. Sure will.
Yeah, I'll just go and explain to him that I cannot take George on a Disney cruise, and it's your damn fault.
It is. I am so scared. I am so scared. A cruise, if I can't see land mass, like if all I see is water, that's a stroke.
Yeah,
literally.
So that guy deserves to be punched. It
destroyed me. Okay, so the situation with Patrick and Carlos, every time Patrick offered to do an activity with him, he said no. And I'm trying to figure out if Carlos really just doesn't want to jet ski, or if he's just kind of giving Patrick a hard time because he didn't ask him for the blessing beforehand. I can't read. Can you read him?
Like him? He doesn't like him. He can't stand him.
That's why I
don't understand why, because Patrick is like the most non-threatening. It's funny because he's a really huge guy, right? Like he's big. He looked like he could be intimidating, but he's literally a massive teddy bear.
The guy,
right? Like,
he's not even smart enough to bend his leg, though. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw him popping.
His leg brace is designed to bend at the knee. I have the same one because I have a bad knee. It is designed to bend, not too far, but it makes you bend your leg because you cannot keep it straight, or you're going to have so much more physical therapy once the healing is done, because now you've trained your leg not to bend. So this guy is walking along with an entirely straight leg, which if they wanted him to do that, they would have casted him up, not put him in a brace. So I can't even take him seriously watching this. I just can't. I can't. These people are so freaking boring. This is why they brought John on, because John is the only form of entertainment with this couple.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, right.
Very true.
When they were getting ready for this 3-hour trip, I'm pretty sure the producers are the ones that made sure that John was going to get in that car. Patrick was like, oh yeah, I'm going to bring him because it's bonding for him. And I'm pretty sure the producers were like, well, we're not paying for the trip unless Patrick goes. Like, I'm pretty sure there were rules and regulations, and that was like number one. They were like, if you're not going to bring John on the trip, then we're not filming it, because we don't have the time or the patience to edit something out of nothing. Right? Like we don't have the time and patience to literally edit something that doesn't exist. There's nothing going on. And, you know, Lauren and Alexi, I love them too, but again, it's beating a dead horse, right? There's nothing worth entertainment value in there. And, you know, Patrick and Thais are in very much a good relationship. They're well off financially, and pulling out of nowhere to create a problem, it's getting old. You know, like it's getting old. Like if people don't have real problems, you know, let them be on Diaries or let them be on something else.
Taunting me, so I apologize. I'm not trying to flag anyone down for help. I just have a horrible fly.
Yeah. There's one that's
it's just buzzing around my head. It's making me crazy.
There's one that's been following me around my house too, which I just can't. Oh, I want to talk about Kobe and Emily in this Cameroon thing, because we've kind of been talking about this earlier in the season, and it did come up. Remember, we were talking about how we think that it's important that Kobe's kids are exposed to Cameroonian culture. Well, he agrees, and he wants to move there for a year or two, which I think is an excellent idea. You know, I think that trip was just a tip of the iceberg of all the different cultural things, traditions, foods, all the different things that his kids should be exposed to. But Emily made a good point. I know y'all don't want to hear it, but she was like, they're really young and they're not going to really grasp a lot of that at this age. And
totally agree with Emily.
Me too. I know, right?
I disagree. 100% disagree with her. Yeah.
I think that they need to move in a couple of years. I think they're too young to remember it. At least the daughter is too.
I was really young when I went to Mexico with my dad. I was really, really young. So the younger they are, the more they're going to be able to pick up on the language, pick up on the culture, and it does stick with them. It actually does. And they do remember.
2 years old?
Do what now?
Even under 2 years old?
Yes, I was, when I first went over there, well, if they stay there like a couple of years, then yes, Scarlett, you know, she'll understand. But I think they said Coben is like 3.
Yeah.
Well, when I first went over there, I was around 5 years old when I started going over there.
That's what I was saying, is if the youngest was 5 years old when they moved and stayed for a couple of years, in my opinion, I thought that would be better. But I've also never had to adapt to a different culture myself, so I don't know.
And they need to do it before they go to school, because, and the reason why I'm saying that is because it was hard on me, because I would have to, whenever I started school, depending on which one I was with, I would have to go to school in Mexico or either go to school here in the U.S. So it's better if they let them grow up in Cameroon up until it's time for them to go to school, go back over to the U.S. because Kobe was saying they could build a house, they could buy a house. That would be amazing. They could come back over here to the States, let them go to school, and then during their summer break, go back over to Cameroon. That way they're in both places. They're getting the education that they need, but at the same time, they're able to bring both cultures together. Does that make sense? And they're small enough where, because at that age, children's brain is like, they're like what I call elephant brains. They're sponges.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a whole lot easier on them. That
makes sense, but there were so many different elements to this. So you can move over there, you can buy a house, you can build a house. What are you going to do for work? I'm going to work. What kind of work? Work. Well, what kind of work are you going to do to provide for the family? Well, I'm going to work. There's literally no answers. So what is Emily going to do? Just be a stay-at-home mom in an area that she doesn't even understand the culture. She's learning that. I think it would be a disaster. I think if they have the savings that they say they have, they should put a down payment on a house here or buy a house here and make the summertime thing in Cameroon, in my opinion.
I don't think
that too.
I don't think that Emily would adapt well to living in Cameroon. Like the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm trying to picture her there long term, right?
Yeah.
Like they were all there. They did a really good job because they knew, and the 14th day they were going to get back on the plane and go home. But like, I'm trying to picture Emily adapting to culture in Africa. And I just don't know if she would make it, right? Like Emily reminds me a lot of me. Like I'm a very um accustomed, entitled person. Like I have expectations of things, and I have, like I told y'all before, I have no survival skills. I can't swim. I probably can't start a fire without a match or a lighter. Like I don't know how well I would adapt to that type of culture, and I feel like Emily is the same way. I mean, don't get me wrong, Emily's family lives on a farm, so she's got more skills than me actually. But like I still don't know if I could see her there for 2 years. Remember when Ariella was like, "Oh, I'm gonna move to Ethiopia and I'm just gonna stay there forever." And within like 6 weeks, she had figured out a way to go back home and never come back. And I feel like Emily would probably end up that way too. I could be 100% wrong. I could have misread her, but I just feel like she's so used to getting her way all the time.
Yep.
And being the queen of her world. I don't know if she would make it in Cameroon.
I agree.
That's the only thing, George. You're correct, because in Cameroon, that's why I think that she is so against it, because she won't be able to have full control over the
That's right.
marriage, because in the United States it's her way or no way, and in Cameroun it's going to be his way or no
Yeah.
way. And she doesn't want to give up that control that she has over the marriage.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, and I think he's gonna have a lot of support in Cameroon of him being in charge. The 14 days that they were there, he caught hell from so many different people for not controlling his white wife. You know, like they gave him hell in such a short amount of time. So imagine living there and she's trying to control everything, and they see that he's gonna have to try to live up to the expectations of his family and his friends and all the people there. I just feel like it would be a disaster. And I feel like her parents said it best. He was like, they're in a stable, good, loving relationship now. Why mess that up? And I feel like moving there would mess it up. I feel like the dynamic would change and they would reevaluate things, and they could break up. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I feel like that type of life-changing event, moving to another country for someone who's not ready or willing to adapt, I think that could be the end of the relationship.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Me too.
Ma brought Michael home, right? And I'm not gonna lie, this was like a really wholesome moment. Like seeing her grandkids react to him, it really, really made me realize how long and how much of a journey this has been for her and her family, for Angela. Because I was like, we watching him, we're like, I don't know why she's with him, and we have our preconceived issues with it, especially with Skyla too. But watching the way that her granddaughters and everybody reacted to him really made me think, how did we end up where we are now? Because it really does look like they loved each other at one point. Because remember, I was questioning that. I was like, I don't think he ever loved her, and I don't think that this was ever real. But I'm beginning to think y'all were right. I think it started out as an issue, like I'm gonna use her to get to America, and he started to get along with her and like her, and they built a bond and a rapport with each other. And I think that he was gonna try to make this work. I don't know, when he got here, I just got a different vibe, like I didn't get that scammer vibe from him. And he brought presents for the grandkids, and he was like, they were crying to see him, he was crying to see them. It got me in a different place. When I was viewing that scene, it was different for me.
But the only thing Angela could focus on was proving Skyla wrong.
Well, yeah. She
it.
wanted to prove to Skyla that it was a real relationship, and it's like, that's the least important thing. The real important thing is you brought a man to Georgia that you don't trust, that you said with your own mouth was doing shady stuff, and you have to keep an eye on him, and you have to keep an eye on him, and you don't trust what he's doing, you don't know what's going on, and you brought him here, and then the only thing that you're worried about is, I just want her to see that he's really here. And it's like, that's so unimportant to the situation. So Angela keeps saying in her TikToks, she's like, you got to keep watching. You're going to see so much more crazy behavior and actions from Michael as you keep watching. Well, there's only 2 episodes left. So I'm beginning to wonder, and it kind of looks like he got there at Halloween. Did you see the Halloween decorations outside?
Well, they said it's the best Christmas gift ever. So there's a ton of stuff.
Yeah, there was a Christmas tree on the inside.
And there was like a clown outside. So I was really confused.
Judging by her bedroom, she doesn't pick things up often. So
Judging by our house, nobody in that house cleans.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Angela's house. So that was a nightmare. It gave me anxiety, right? Because I mean, looking at Angela, I can see her as someone that doesn't probably keep a super clean house, right? You get that too. You get that vibe, right? But when I saw her
the
room,
cigarettes oozing out as soon as he opened the door.
right, and I saw like she has a refrigerator just for soda. So, you know, I have expectations, right? I feel like there'll be empty soda cans everywhere. I feel like there'll be cigarette butts everywhere. And I feel like the floor probably needs to be swept and mopped all the time.
Yeah.
But her room was just a lot for me because she knew that they were going to be filming. I would have had Skyla in there or something. Like, I don't know. Like, first of all, my room would never look like that. But if it did, the level of anxiety in me to get it clean, I wouldn't be able to leave the country. You know how you have like, you're going to go out of town and I'll clean my house before I go out of town, which people are like, why are you doing that? Do it when you get back. Because I can't, is it weird that I would be worried if somebody broke into my house and they saw it dirty that I would feel judged? Is that weird?
I just have to come home to a clean house. I'm not coming home to a dirty house. I don't want to have to work on my house as soon as I come home from vacation exhausted. No.
The fact that she packed her luggage and left the house like that was just a whole nother level, right?
My house has to look like, literally, you can ask anybody who knows me personally. George, you haven't been to my house yet, but you welcome anytime. But literally, my house looks like nobody lives in it. That's how clean my house has to be. You walk in my house, you take your shoes off. No one is allowed to walk in my house with their shoes on. I will have a full-blown panic attack if you walk in my house with your shoes. Like,
hey, Kobe.
seriously.
See, I'm kind of like that too, right? Like I have a lot of people, I have Airbnb vibes with my house, but I have pictures on the wall, like of like me.
Your house
so like,
is really,
you know,
I love your house, George.
it has to be clean all the time, right? And I have like robots that I have that they every so many hours they'll sweep, they'll mop, they'll do all, like, it's just, I grew up, okay, so we don't waste too much time on this. I grew up, my mom was a hoarder. So there was like junk in our house all the way up to the ceiling, like every room, everything, like every part of the house. So when I got my own place, it was super, super important for me because I had like that mental trauma that my house always has to look presentable at all times, no matter what. So if somebody shows up at my house unannounced, because like when I was younger, I had friends that would try to show up at our house and I couldn't let them in.
Yeah.
Because wait, look, so like it's like that trauma for me. So it's so important. So like if something happens, like I have a cat and she knocks something over, I have to go and clean it right now. Like probably if she knocked something over right now, I would have to go off camera and clean it right now because that's how traumatic that is for me.
Yeah.
So Angela on TV with her room looking like that. Angela, what are you doing? Like seriously, like it's crazy. I mean, I get that she was there for a month and she was packing and she probably didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but come on, seriously, you gotta keep it a little better.
I mean, at least call somebody in if you didn't want Skyla to know that he was coming. At least call somebody in to freaking go and clean your house. I mean, that's just nasty. That is poor health stuff.
I know, right? Like,
there. I don't know.
It's crazy to me what people will do on TV, right?
Yeah.
It's wild because I notice a lot of times I watch a lot of these other shows. People will film a show in an Airbnb just so they don't expose what they really live like. And I understand that because some people, they don't have the best living conditions. So they'll film their whole season or whatever in an Airbnb just so you don't have to see, you know, what their living situation is, which, I want to talk about Rob and Sophie because I don't know how this came about, but I'm leaning towards Team Rob even more, and which I never thought I would ever say because I think Rob is such a dickhead sometimes. But I was watching him at his birthday party in Kansas City, and Sophie's living with her girlfriend Kay, right? And Kay made it very clear in this episode that she loves her and would love to marry her. So we know what's going on. There's nothing being hidden anymore.
Been knowing that Kay's been banging that head up against the headboard.
Yep. 100%.
We've been knowing this.
Apparently every night. So what got me tonight, Sophie had the audacity to call Rob on his birthday to say happy birthday and then say I love you and forcibly wait for him to say it back knowing that she doesn't love him. And then I was like, this is not just using him for a green card. This is like mental manipulation. I was like, at this point, she hasn't seen, she moved out a month after they got married. She's been living with her girlfriend. He doesn't even know where she lives. He went to go talk to her to break off their marriage. He didn't even know where to find his wife. But the fact that she thinks that she can hold on to him and manipulate him and play with him. And he's such a simple guy, right? Like, he's super simple, and it's easy for you to manipulate somebody like Rob. And I feel like she's taking full-on advantage. And I don't know how this ended up being that I'm on his side, but I want him to break off this marriage and send her and her mom back where they came from.
Yep.
Because I feel like at this point, she is using him, blatantly using him for a green card. And of all the people in the world, I don't want that to happen to Rob, of all people, right? Because at this point, I feel like he really does love her. And I'm also wondering, did he ever really cheat on her? Or was this all part of her plan to get him away from her, so it'll be easier when she gets the green card to cut him loose?
I mean, I don't know. I can't with them anymore.
He did admit cheating online, but he never admitted cheating like physically.
In person.
No.
Right.
But at the
Cheating
end
is
when
cheating.
he said,
I don't care. It's still cheating.
yeah, but at the end when he said, oh, I thought about it all night last night, I think I just need to end the marriage. It's convenient that all this bullshit has led up to this, right? Why didn't he end the marriage sooner? He didn't end the marriage until this woman was all over him. He was very attracted to her. She was very attracted to him. Now he's thinking about it. He got her phone number, and now he's going to end the marriage because
he banged her head up against the headboard.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
End the marriage.
So do you think he's worried that she was going to find out, and that's why he's ending the marriage?
Duh.
Well, I still think the marriage needs to end regardless, though. Because at this point, are they really married? He doesn't even know where she is. Like, at this point, she belongs...
I agree.
She belongs to the streets, right? She's a sneaky link. She belongs to the streets. He doesn't know where she is. He doesn't know how to get a hold of her. They're not married.
He had to end the marriage out loud. Has to end the marriage out loud before the tell-all. And he knows it. Because
yes.
Because he's going to come out. They're going to bring the little bar, the bar girl, because, I mean, she was working at the bar, right? So, and of course, it's going to come out. They're going to invite her, so it's going to come out that he banged her head up against the headboard. So, I mean,
I'm totally okay with that, though, because who is he being faithful to? She's literally living with her girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, I don't support cheating or homewrecking or lying, but can he really cheat on somebody who left him 7, 8, 9 months ago and moved in with another person?
Like,
no, if you're not together, that's not cheating. Yeah. If you're not together, you're not cheating. So actually, he didn't even cheat on her. If he did, do something with that girl, he didn't cheat on her because they're not even together. Yep. I think they lived together. I don't even think they lived together a full month after they were married.
She moved out within that month and never came back. Oh, so Sunshine.
Exactly.
Once he met that girl, he remembered he's not the problem and Sophie is. I think that's true. I think when he realized that he was being faithful to someone who doesn't even love him, I think that's when he realized, I have to end this. He's like, I know that this bottle service girl was probably put up by the producers, but it probably crossed his mind, like, why should I feel bad for a woman giving me attention so I can be faithful to a woman who's sleeping with another woman probably right now?
Yep.
You know, like, why should I have any negative feeling about me for not doing anything wrong? And I feel like that's probably, and you're right too, Cara, because for 2 episodes left, they're going to be back for the last resort. They have to be broken up in this season in order for the last resort to make sense. Yep. So it has to be released at some point. And like you said, the tell-all, this bottle service girl is going to show up and she's going to spill all the tea. And she's going to say, oh, Rob was with me and he came to my apartment and we've been seeing each other. Because, that's going to be the fuel for that last resort season.
Yep.
Well, absolutely. I want to know why Sophie thinks that she's the only one that is even for Rob. Because she said tonight that she wasn't worried because she's the only one that is for Rob, that no other woman's going to want him. She's the only one that understands him. And she loves him, but he just pisses her off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. She was drunk too. And, the drunk feelings, I always stick with the drunk feelings. And I don't know. I don't know Sophie specifically, but I feel like Sophie likes women more than she likes men.
Absolutely.
I get that vibe from her, and there's totally nothing wrong with that. I guess it is bad if you're married to a man and trying to convince him otherwise. But I feel like she's happier with Kay. She wants to be with Kay. Kay clearly wants to be with her. You know, if that's how they both feel, why is Rob a part of this triangle if he doesn't want to be?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't understand. I mean, I do understand why she's holding on to him, because the paperwork and process has to be complete before she can cut him loose. I get that. I get that she doesn't want to go back to England. Her mom doesn't want to go back, you know, because she's been here ever since the wedding and never left. Like, they clearly have a plan, and it's to stay where they are. And Rob, you know, if Kay was the person in charge of that visa, that's different. But Rob is the signer on that visa. So Rob has to be dragged along and kept in the picture as long as possible for this green card. And it's just making her come across as such a sneaky, horrible liar. Like, this whole season, like when I saw her getting ready to go out with her girlfriend, and then she's like, I hope Rob isn't like out doing whatever he wants. I'm like, well, why not?
Also,
you're out doing literally whatever you want right now. Like, why not?
Also, Rob's at the club, right? It's late at night, right? Because you don't go to the club during the day in the dark. It's late at night. What kind of a wife calls at the end of the night and says, oh, happy birthday, I love you?
Yeah, like 2 a.m. Yeah, like 2 a.m. I don't know. I don't know. What kind of wife isn't there? Like, because that was the whole thing. Because I was like, if you loved him, even if he didn't invite you, you would still be there. Because that's your husband.
Absolutely.
And you would make sure that you would spend... Because she's like, oh, this is his first time taking a trip without me. And I'm like, it's not your first time taking a trip without him. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you that. I guarantee you've been doing whatever you want to do for this whole 9 months that you've been separated. But the idea of him doing whatever he wants is pissing you off. And it's that double standard with her that gets to me. Because I was like, so you get to just go do whatever you want, literally sleep around on him and everything. But if he even looks at a girl's boobs online, he's a horrible human being. Like, I don't know how I ended up being Team Rob, but I support him in this. At this point, I support him. You're just a sneaky little liar trying to get you and your mom a green card, and I'm kind of pissed off.
Yeah, I'm Team Rob all the way. I said it last week. I said it the week before. I am Team Rob. Didn't think I did, but I'm there.
I know, right? Because this is not where we started, any of us. Right? Like, he irked me, like, to the point where I couldn't stand him. But at this point, I feel like as a man, it's my responsibility to stand with him. I stand with Rob at this point because he's been lied to, cheated, manipulated, used, defrauded. Like, all these, like, I feel like as a man, I should stand with him on his side because this isn't fair for anybody. I don't care if it was Rob or anybody. Like, no person should be put through what he's going through.
Yeah.
And even
I agree.
whenever he called her to tell her that he was outside, she hollered at him and said, why are you hollering at me? Why are you talking to me like you're pissed off at me? Like, all the dude said was, I'm outside.
Yeah.
That's all he said. That's it.
That's her form of manipulation. She's been manipulating him since the beginning, and I think that Rob is a basic
Put a puncher
dude.
through the damn phone.
Yes, he's a basic dude, and it doesn't take a lot to get in his head and manipulate him, and I think that she's mastered controlling him. And, you know, you got to watch out for the manipulators and the master manipulators. Those are the ones you really have to look out for. And they don't look like a threat. They don't look intimidating, but their mind games is what makes them so dangerous.
Yeah.
And she has really proven that she is so dangerous.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, so Manuel started crying in this episode, right? Because his mom needs something on her arm, like an IV or something for $300. Isn't it ironic that every single day that the sun comes up, Manuel's family needs $300, right? Like, I was really thinking about this tonight. I was like, damn, I wish I could have been born into Manuel's family because I would just call Manuel every day for $350, right? Like, I wouldn't have to go to work. I wouldn't have to deal with anything. I wouldn't have to do any of the stuff that I have to do because Manuel would just send me all of Ashley's money. And I'm not discrediting that his family or his kids might need things. I believe that, but I also think that he's playing her. She is a sucker, and those fake ass tears and that BS that he's feeding her, it's like anytime that he thinks the money is gonna run dry, the well is running dry, he comes up with another way to manipulate her, right? He's like, well, I'll just cry or I'll say it's my mommy, or I'll say she falls for it every single time. She's like such a sucker. And again, a clairvoyant witch should be able to see through crocodile tears, right? Like she should be able to see, oh, Eileen says, I think the $300 is child support. A week? That's
No way.
child support in Ecuador, $300 will be for the whole month.
That'd be
Because that's $300 US, right?
First of all, we already know that no, he didn't send his wife no money whenever they were in New York or Newark or wherever the hell they were. Whenever he left with Jonathan, because he gave her money, and he banged her head up against the headboard because she's right down the road from him.
So wait, the wife and the baby mama, two different people or same person?
Same person.
They're together.
So same person. So his kid's mom is the woman that
they always doing FaceTime.
So that's probably why Ashley's never physically saw or spoken to the kids, right? Because she was like, I don't really know his kids. I don't really know the baby mama, because she would probably be able to tell that the background or whatever, they're not in Ecuador. You think that's what the situation is? Because if you know, because I always have to remind people, she said that they knew each other for 10 years. Ashley and Manuel knew each other for a full decade, and she doesn't know anything about him. And that is like
she never went to his parents' house.
Nothing.
She never went to his ex's house. She never met his children whenever she was over there. This woman knows nothing about him.
And if she got the baby mama on the phone to talk, she'd be like, holy shit, are you
can
aunt's twin?
Speak English. Yeah, that was another thing, because I was like, if someone is used to speaking English regularly, and then you ask them to pretend they speak no English, you might be able to tell. Because one thing I have learned with people who have English as their second language, when they're talking regularly in English all the time, you can hear, like, they might say a word in Spanish every now and then, or they'll be speaking Spanish but also mix in an English word. So I was like, that might be why she can't speak to her, because she might not speak full Spanish or full Portuguese or whatever all the time. And it would be pretty obvious that she's not there. I don't know, this whole situation with him, I feel like he's a really good manipulator too. Him and Sophie are gonna be fighting for the award for manipulator of the season, right? I feel like they're definitely, it's a heads race between the two of them, who can get the most out of who by lying and manipulating. And I feel like it's gonna be a really close battle between the two of them. And Ashley, she just makes it so easy for him. Like, he doesn't really have to, I don't know if he's like a master manipulator. He doesn't try as hard. I feel like as Sophie, it's not hard to trick Ashley, right? You literally put your hand in the water and dribble the water over her head and tell her it's a thunderstorm, and she's like, no, it's a hurricane. It's a hurricane. You know, like, she literally has no clue what's going on around her. And I feel like the reason why she's put 10 years into a relationship with probably a married man, because remember, he said that his youngest kid was like 12, and they've been together for like, well, she's known him for 10 years. That means that he's been with the baby mama pretty close in proximity to when him and Ashley were together. So that's also questionable too. Why did he have a kid with her within recently, and then he was talking to Ashley? It's very interesting to me, and the fact that she hasn't questioned any of it confuses me.
I don't care if you're living with someone, if you're dating someone, or you're all the way across the country. If you're with somebody for 10 freaking years, you've either seen their kid, talked to their kid, written their kid, sent their kid a gift, whatever.
Accidentally called and the kid answered. Yep. You're right. There's some way, or you were on FaceTime and the kid wanted cereal. You're going to interact in some possible way. Absolutely. Because it's impossible to literally hide a human being from another human being. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can, but it takes so much work. Right? To make it as though someone doesn't exist. But she knows they exist, but he's still purposely keeping them from her. Like, in my opinion, if I have to send them money every month, we need to have a conversation. Like, we need to talk regularly. They shouldn't know my name and what I look like. You want my money, you should know at least what I look like. We should at least talk about school and how things are going, right?
All you have to do is drop a couple of tears, squeeze them out, and boom, you got $300.
Well, he thought that she was not going to give him no more money.
Yep.
So he had to come up with a game plan overnight, since he had to sleep on the couch, to to be able to draw her back in to, you know, to get her right where he needs her once again. So he come up with this huge lie saying his mom's sick with her arm, that she has to take shots. So you mean to tell me each shot is $300?
In Ecuador.
Are
Ecuador.
you
Right?
serious?
That's what's
It's not even that much in the United States.
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's true.
I mean,
You can get insulin. You can get insulin for like $70, right? Like that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So,
but
I
did you
wanna
also
talk.
realize that he told her that that every time she gave him money that he was putting it in the account to save.
Yes,
So
he
if
finally,
he's saving all that money, then why doesn't he have the $300 or whatever it is that he needs to send?
because that's his money. That's his money. He's saving that for himself. His family don't get any of that money. His family gets Ashley's money. I noticed that too because I was like, you're saving this because you're worried about the way she spends, which I mean that's understandable. She's in debt a lot, but why don't you send some of your money to your family? Because you get the your placement in those statements, your money, your family, your responsibility. He doesn't want any of his money going to his kids or any of his money going to his family. Ashley's got to figure out a way to do that. So that's even, and she didn't catch on to that either. Like Ashley doesn't catch on to things very quickly because I've been like, okay, so I gave you $1,000 and you put it in the bank and held on to it. So you just asked me for $300. Take it out of $1,000 that you took from me. You know, like be like she doesn't catch things she doesn't want to. I don't know if it's love that she sees, you know, and she's blinded by the bullshit. I don't know what it is. I don't even understand because in my opinion, I don't know how to say this nicely. Manuel kind of looks like a dog. Like right, like, and I'm trying to understand. Like, I get that, you know, everybody has their thing, but I'm just like, even his sad puppy eyes are just like, you're gonna give this man thousands of dollars with that face? Like, really? That's crazy to
Did
me.
you see
Like,
the meme where she had Ashley's hair was down, the front of it was down, and somebody said it looked like ground beef going through like this?
Yeah.
I cannot unsee that. I can't.
It's
When I look
so
at it, that's all I see. That is all.
it's so realistically accurate.
Yes.
So, Jasmine says that Gino does not want to be intimate with her, which we've had this conversation before. And she said that she can't be in a relationship with a man who can't be intimate with her, which I understand that part. What I don't understand, when I was thinking and listening out loud to them talk, was he said that her arguing with him makes him turned off, not in the mood, which was the opposite of Ashley and Manuel. Whenever they argue, that's when they're turned on. So I was thinking, has he never heard of makeup sex? Has he ever?
Most people just go to town after they argue.
Well, right. If they argue all the time, that usually leads to that passionate intimacy. And I'm beginning to think, because she's like, I married a man that has different needs, and I'm like, what is she trying to say? Right? Because I feel like she wants
to, so what she's trying to say, she's alluding to his porn addiction and masturbation, because that's been coming up a lot lately.
Yeah.
All he wants to do is masturbate.
See, I don't understand or believe that, because if you have a beautiful woman living in your house, that not just living in your house, but you spend a lot of money to put in your house, like to keep her happy. He flew her to Miami. He has her in this weird, strange pageant that probably is
not legit.
Yes, probably not legit. And he's going through so much to keep her here and happy. The only payoff in it for him is, other than having her there, companionship, would be intimacy, right? So I'm really confused as to why he's not interested in her. And he said something tonight that pissed her off. He was like, I used to love you. Or he alluded to the point where I thought things would get better. I used to want to be with you.
You're getting
I think
clear as the more you go.
By the day. He's like, you're getting uglier by the day. And we've been hearing a lot of people saying that about Jasmine throughout the season. They feel like she's gorgeous, but her personality and her attitude make her undesirable. Yeah. And to hear it from her husband on TV was kind of interesting, because, you know, lots of people have been saying that. They were like, you can be extremely beautiful but be super, super ugly. Yeah. And I think Gino is alluding to that. He's like, I thought I wanted you because you were beautiful, and now that I have you, I realize, you know, the ugly person inside. Yeah. And I think that you know, but they're also leading in, hey, PRB, they're also leading into their season of, what do you call it? The Last Resort. So something has to happen between them for the Last Resort season to make sense. So I'm assuming that
Single Life. Did you guys see that?
yeah, the rumor, Shabuti said that they're filming the Single Life separately with different people. Yeah. What is your reaction to that? Do you believe that? Do you think that that's true? They haven't been posted or seen together recently at all.
Well,
he posts a lot of stuff with his
posting pictures with a new woman, and then I seen today that Jasmine posted with one of the guys from Jersey Shore, and I commented on that, and I told him, please do not ruin your reputation.
Yes, she was on Vinny's podcast, Vinny from the Jersey Shore,
yep.
Which was, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I've seen snippets of it. Yep. So yeah, there's.
I hope you don't ruin his reputation.
I mean, I don't think that they would be dating, right? I feel like that wouldn't.
Oh, now have you never watched Jersey Shore?
Oh, I have. I did not. When it came back, but the first.
If Vinny thinks you're a sexy woman, Vinny's gonna want that.
Yeah,
just
want
saying,
that,
okay.
Want that, and date that, or different, right? Like I feel like
he would dip it. How does that say? He would dip it and leave it, or something, or something like that.
I'm not saying that Vinny has not had some of it. I'm not saying that Vinny's not stupid, but I'm gonna say he's had it, and he's probably said it was okay, and he's moved on to the next thing. Like I don't think
he turned around and he said, "What is happening with that ass?" You know, that probably broke her in 30 different pieces. Like I can't.
Yeah, he's probably gonna be like, "You need to go get a refund for that ass."
No shit.
It's just it never really panned out. It never evened out. It's just kind of chunky in all the wrong places, right? It's just chunky in all the wrong places, and I don't know if they do touch-ups or like a 90-day guarantee or what. Like I don't know how these work. I don't know how asses work. Hey, Michael, I don't know how it all works. I just know that Jasmine needs to see somebody just to even it out, make it at least round, right? They're supposed to be round. Even a natural one is round. You know who has a better ass than Jasmine? This is gonna sound super weird, but do you know Aaliyah from Love in Paradise?
Yes.
Her ass was like ridiculously round, and then you look at Jasmine's and you're like, that's a real ass compared to a fake ass. Crazy, right? And Aaliyah, male to female, still has more than Jasmine. And it's like, God has a sense of humor, right? He has a very good sense of humor, because that's weird.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, Jasmine does not feel like she had no freaking nothing done to that butt, because it's like it goes flat, and then it's like her ass is sitting on her back or something. I don't know.
Chunky. It's chunky.
It's chunky. It's like ravioli.
And it's got major cellulite going on.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's like chunky ravioli. It's like it's
like cottage cheese.
Yeah, cottage cheese. That's what I'm looking for. So it's I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know if she can get a refund or a touch up or whatever. Aaliyah wants to ruin that beautiful ass. She does. I don't know why. It was perfectly fine the way it was, but this was the problem with these surgeries and stuff. They take something perfectly fine and they destroy it. Darcy and Stacy, they destroy it, right? Like you take something that looks great and you change it too much, and then you lose sight of what you were trying to do. I think we're gonna get cut off because we've been on for an hour, so we're gonna end here. Make sure you're following both my co-hosts, Cara and Didi. They're tagging this video. We're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to talk about The Other Way and probably MILF Manor. So make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at George Mossey, GeorgeMossey.com. Anywhere you catch podcast, type in The George Mossey Show. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad to have the Dream Team back tonight. Everybody have a wonderful night, and we'll talk to y'all really soon.
Bye.
Bye.